Okay. So welcome, Javier, Damien, Lara.
Hello to all.
We'll wait a couple minutes. There were a couple other people who apuntarse, but they're not there yet and may not come. We'll find out.
La profesora de yoga ha pedido un vestido y me ha mandado por si está sí. Qué bueno, qué buena vista.
It's nice to hear Spanish.
To hear Spanish, you said?
It's nice, yeah.
Entonces, todo en español.
Vale.
No, es una broma.
Otra broma de Javier. ¿Eh? Hay una expresión de bromas cuando tú estás bromeando. Es Javi bromas. Javi bromas.
Happy bromas.
Or happy bromas. Sí.
Ah, ok.
Hay un eco. ¿Por qué? Probablemente por la sala.
Tim, I think we can start. We're only 4 people in the hall today, but
okay. Well, you guys are going to get the most important teachings, so you'll be way ahead of those other people afterwards. Okay, well, we all kind of know each other, but maybe we'll just go around the room, say your name, starting with Alicia in the room.
Alicia.
Very good.
This is Virginia.
Virginia.
Virginia, right. Okay, I'm beginning to recognize you.
Evi.
Mm-hmm.
And Carlos.
Carlos. Okay, and in the virtual room we have starting, well, I don't know if you have the same order as me, but let's start with Javier.
Hola, soy Javier.
Hello, I'm Damien.
I am Lara.
Lara.
I'm David.
Oh, David.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if you guys see the same order. Probably not. Probably everybody sees a different order. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will mute a few people, or at least David. I'll leave you guys on. So yeah, I'm here in California and I am definitely jet lagged. So if I talk nonsense, you can blame it on the jet lag. Despite my confused state of mind, we're going to try to still talk about the Four Noble Truths. And we were still talking about the first noble truth, the truth of suffering, the truth of dukkha. And there's one section that we'll finish up, and then Nacho is there. And then we'll start to talk about the second noble truth. And what I thought we would do during the meditation, because so much of this is a part of getting to know the truth of suffering. This is essential, fundamental for awakening in the Buddhist path is to really understand the truth of suffering, that it exists and how it exists. So what I thought, just an added assignment, you might say, for the first, let's say 20 minutes, 2/3 of our sit, is to notice if your mind craves or wants some kind of sense pleasure. So if you can catch your mind wanting more comfort, wanting more stillness, even wanting the mind to stop thinking, which is an aversion, but still so that there'll be a sense pleasure or the avoidance of lack of pleasure from the thinking. And again, not to analyze it too much, not to try to figure it out, but just if you notice this sort of thirst, this sort of craving, this sort of wanting for a more pleasurable experience. And then for the last 10 minutes, I thought we would go back to being more aware of our thoughts. And the framing that I thought we could use for the thoughts is simply, when a thought arises, is it kind of an anxiety provoking thought, or is it a comforting thought? So these are the ones, that just pop up on their own volition. They just appear, these thoughts. And then we just point to the thought with our mind for a second, our attention. Was that, you could even use pleasurable or unpleasurable, but rather, or pleasant or unpleasant, or rather than using that, was that kind of anxiety provoking or stimulating or causing, or was it reassuring and happy and joyous? And then as soon as you just sort of make that discernment, let it go and go back to your anchor, whatever that might be. I hope that made sense. Any preguntas, questions on that? Okay. So I will say a few words, but we're all experienced practitioners, so not too many words. Set this for 30 minutes. Okay, here we go. Find your comfortable posture. Dropping in to the body, feeling, experiencing the body. And just by this simple act of bringing the attention into the body, you unify the mind and the body and the heart. And you bring your mind into the present moment, which is all there really is the present moment. And it doesn't matter what we pay attention to in the body, nor whether the sensations are pleasant or unpleasant. just so long as we experience them without any greed or aversion, just as they are, however they are. And you might include the area around you in your awareness. So not only experiencing the body, the form, but sounds, and even the sense of other things in the room, other people, objects, kitty cats, whatever. And then allowing the sounds and the physical body, the sensations of the physical body to recede to the background while you bring your breath into the foreground. So bring your attention to the breath, allowing sounds of motorcycles and other things to recede to the background. And you can follow the breath, follow the sensations associated with the breath in the whole body, in the posture. Or you can narrow it down a little bit, maybe follow the breath at the belly, the chest, the nostrils. The important point is to find a comfortable, easy, if not pleasant place to follow the breath, whatever you enjoy most. And then as thoughts arise, we're aware of any craving that might be in the thoughts, wanting it to be more pleasant, wanting the body to be more comfortable, the mind to be more calm, all wonderful things. But we just notice the flavor of that. What is that like when the mind wants, desires? And we just keep coming back to the breath wherever you've decided shall be your anchor. With sounds and other bodily sensations in our awareness, but in the background. Thoughts allowed to arise and pass away in the background. And if they move into the foreground, no problem. We just let them recede back into the background when we refocus our attention on the sensations of the breath. If you find it helpful, supportive, you can use counting as a way of staying connected to the breath, counting the exhalations, maybe up to 5, or if you're experienced 10, and starting again at 1, or if you really want to challenge yourself, you can count backwards if you reach 5 or 10. Or you can also use labeling, naming, breathing in, breathing out. So if you are willing, during the next third of our formal practice, this is almost like a third foundation of mindfulness practice, noticing the mental proliferations. So it's just being aware of, let's say, the type or theme of a thought that arises. Maybe even just giving it a one-word name: planning, judging, worrying, remembering, fantasizing, whatever fits it, without spending too much time thinking about it. Just first word that pops into your head. And then go back to your anchor, go back to your breath. Nothing more, very simple exercise of just recognizing the flavor or type of thought that just arises. So, wherever your attention might have been, just let that go. And let's bring the awareness back to the body, reconnecting with the body, the whole body, any sensations in the body. Maybe noticing how the body might be different now than it was 30 minutes ago. Maybe a little calmer, stiller. Also, maybe some discomfort or sleeping body parts. Whatever it is, we just notice it. And then bringing your attention to your heart space for a little ending metta and gratitude, mudita practice. So just thanking yourself mentally for having taken time out on your Sunday to connect with yourself in this way and support others. Thank yourself for your practice and the goodness of your practice, and the other members of our Sangha for the goodness of their practice. And then taking this goodwill, this gratitude, and imagining you can just extend it out in all directions, touching all of life, wishing for all to be happy and well and safe. And when you hear the sound of the bell, just being aware of what arises, especially in the mind. What thought might come up? Ah, thank you. Seem like a very still group. Of course, I can't tell for sure, but it seems still to me. So just to talk a little bit about the two exercises and how they fit in to the Four Noble Truths. Maybe starting with the second part first, the awareness of sanskaras, awareness of mental proliferations. The third, as one person said, if the teaching doesn't have a list, it's not Buddhism. It's got to be in a list. So for the first noble truth of dukkha, that there is dukkha, that there is suffering, there are three flavors, you might say, which we've been talking about. And in that third one is the dukkha of conditioned existence. It's basically the dukkha of existence. And maybe, for you, you might have noticed how the majority of the thoughts that arise are kind of dukkha oriented. They're kind of dukkha producing. It's very rare that on its own the subconscious or whoever, whatever, causes these thoughts to arise is gonna, like bubble up a thought like, oh, the weather's so nice right now, or your best friend is coming to visit you tomorrow, or your health is so good, or whatever it could be. Just imagine some happy thought, some reassuring thought, some beautiful thought. Probably I would be willing to bet dollars and euros that those thoughts don't just arise normally. Now, we may remind we can use them as wholesome thinking. So like a thought might arise, one thought state that I should have mentioned is rehearsing. I don't know if you guys have a mind that rehearses like a conversation that it fantasizes, imagines it's going to have tomorrow or whatever, and then it'll rehearse how it thinks that's going to go. And those are almost like they're not quite planning, because that conversation may never happen, and of course won't happen as you rehearse it. And they're kind of like fantasy. There's somewhere in between planning and fantasizing, and then there's this rehearsing for this conversation that probably will never even happen, or happen in exactly that way. But even those, they'll arise, and maybe they won't create a lot of tension, but chances are you're not going to just feel this open interconnectedness with all things. Right? You're gonna have the rehearse. You're gonna think about what you're gonna say, and then you're gonna imagine what they're gonna say, and imagine how you're gonna respond. And probably the conversation also is not gonna be very light. It's probably gonna be a heavier topic, and then you just feel it in the body. It's just kind of And then you might pull out of that and use a wholesome thought. I'm not going to think about that right now. Here it's 12, it's noon. We changed the clocks last night, and it's a good thing that my phone knew, because my stove didn't know. I would have been on the wrong hour. But anyways, it's 12. The weather looks nice, like it's going to be nice outside. And I might remind myself just to feel better, right? So this is the dukkha of conditioned existence, or just existence, that we are kind of nervous beings. Our minds are generally nervous. Our minds are generally anxious. We feel anxiety quite a bit, we human beings. It is a natural state of being human. It's part of our existence. And 90 some odd percent of the reason why we feel anxious is because we have anxious thoughts. Those are the ones that are more natural to the habituated mind, and natural for the unenlightened person. Or what's the word the Buddha uses? The not unenlightened, but it's uninstructed, I think. Uninstructed. Now that piece there connects to what we did in the first part, which really is more associated with the second noble truth, the cause of our suffering, or even you could say the cause of our anxiety, the cause of our nervousness, the cause of our depression, if you really go down that far. And it is this craving, this wanting, this desire, this tanha, they call it in Pali. And of all the things, that the Buddha could have selected as the one thing that causes us suffering, he chose this craving, this wanting. And it's really interesting sometimes to watch the mind, because it's like the mind wants to want. This is kind of trippy, but it's like the mind will look around for something to desire, something to move towards. And, my opinion on this, it's probably shared by many others, but, these are, they're sobrevivir. It's survival instincts, I think, that the mind has. If we can imagine hundreds or thousands of years ago, we were out there foraging and constantly on the hunt, right? Looking for food, looking for safety, looking for a mate, constantly really wanting things, or better yet, seeing something that we do want. That looks like some good food over there, maybe some fruit, or that looks like a good mate, or, so we're constantly kind of like, what's the word I want to use? On guard. Yeah, we're on guard. We're constantly vigilant, looking for that thing to want. And so the mind has a habituated tendency for that. And it can be very interesting to just notice it's just wanting to want something. There's not even anything there, but it just wants to want. And then we, whatever we are, the self that doesn't really exist, but the part of us that's kind of paying attention, will kind of go along with that. And we'll be like, yeah, we need to want something. Okay, so then we'll think, okay, what can we want? We can want a certain kind of food maybe, or we want to, something bigger. We want to buy a house, or, go on a vacation, and we'll feed it. We'll feed the wanting mind. Oh, so you think of the mind, it's almost like the mind is a pet, right? And you could tell that the pet is hungry, and or a baby or whatever, and you want to give it what it wants. And we do this with the mind. Okay, the mind wants to want. Oh, I can see that it's wanting. Okay, let's see. How about I'll give you, a vacation to Tahiti to want. And so then we'll think about it, and then we'll go off on the second thing, where we'll go off on a little fantasy. Anyways, and not that any of this is wrong, or that, we want to kill it, or we don't want to do it. We want to be aware of it. That's all the practice is about, is just being aware of it and shining the light of awareness on these habits of mind. And then through skillful means, through wisdom, deciding, having intention around, those that are wholesome and those that are maybe not so wholesome. I'll add one other just little thing that I heard recently. I like the way this lady phrased this. The first two of the noble truths. It's like, okay, the first noble truth is the truth of dukkha, and she called that like a law, or it's the truth. There is suffering. And then the second noble truth, the way she kind of put it, was when we forget that. We forget that there is this truth, that there is suffering. And then we start to grasp, we start to cling, we start to crave. And the ways that we may do that, for instance, are wanting things to be different than they are. Such a simple, concise little phrase, right? Wanting things to be different than they are. It doesn't matter what it is. That wanting is going to cause dukkha. It is going to cause suffering. And even if it's like I would imagine every one of us want the war, the invasion of Ukraine to stop. We all want that, right? But that wanting can and does, I'm sure, produce suffering because the war is not stopping. The way things are is that we have this terrible, brutal war going on, and we want it to stop. Now, something so grossly unskillful as war, and so not consistent with Buddhism, it's not that it's wrong to want the war to end, but to be aware of how that wanting can cause suffering. And so we need to let go of the result. We need to let go of the wanting and still do what we can to help bring about its end. And this may involve activism in some way. If you feel inclined for that, it may involve helping out refugees. There's many ways we can help, but the wanting it to end isn't gonna help anything. It kind of reminds me of a quote having to do with worry, but it's a kind of a clever, cute quote by yogi by the name of Bhagavan Das. He would say, worrying is praying for what you don't want. Praying for what you don't want. And it just isn't going to help. It isn't going to help. Many people, and my mind is like this too, it believed for a long time that worrying was essential. I needed to worry. If I didn't worry, how would anything change? How would my life improve? How would I get a new job? Whatever. I had to worry about it. How would my kids be safe? I had to worry about it. This is obviously kind of ignorant thinking, but the mind believes these things and can, as one friend put it, one side of my brain, I have two sides to my brain, right? One side of my brain comes up with a bunch of bullshit and the other side believes it. These are the two sides of my brain. One just comes up with a bunch of crap, right? A bunch of lies, and then the other side believes it. And so one side of my brain believes, I need to worry. And then the other side believes, oh yeah, we need to worry. You're right. Let's worry. So yeah, it's wanting things to be different than they are, wanting ourselves to be different than we are, or wanting to become something other than what we are. That's the second of the three types of craving. And then the third type of craving is not wanting this existence at all. I mean, that one almost sounds kind of gloomy. But you can see that in terms of small things as well, just wanting things to end. For me, wanting this neuropathy in my face to end. Well, guess what? Chances are it ain't gonna end, but I still want it to. That particular one probably comes up in my meditation. I don't even know how many times per minute, or whatever, how many times per sit, not per minute. Okay. Are there any questions or anything anybody would like to say? I'm going to have a sip of tea while you're thinking.
Yes, I would like to share that I am agreed with you about you are speaking of the war, no? I think that the war is doing good things because all a lot of people is giving food and is I think the bad things in the world sometimes are good. I don't speak very well in English, so sorry, but I think it's necessary that the people to the heart open, no, and think. I think the war make the people be more generosity.
Yeah. Well, you're right, Javier. And were you doing the room? Were you able to hear Javier from the speakers, Carlos? Yeah. Yeah, I agree that, and on the other hand, it's kind of sad, that it takes something so terrible to happen before we start to be generous and we start to take action. But it is how it is, um, and yes, you're right. There are some people that have really shown amazing generosity and set aside longtime prejudices and various things as a result of this. And it's brought many people together. So it has probably had what you might call an unintended consequence, but it's been an unintended consequence that has been good. And, I hope, and I'm sure you all do too, that we won't forget. I mean, we tend to, we human beings, but we won't forget that we are together and that we are better together than we are separate. Excuse me. So yeah.
Jim, can I ask you?
Yeah.
I continue to struggle with the concept of not resisting, in this case, to the pain of war. I think I understand better, or I can manage better than not worrying. I understand it conceptually, not that I can do it, but I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But the not resisting something that is causing so much pain, I don't get it really, or the not wanting.
What do you mean by not resisting? Explain that to me.
Sorry, I am resisting what's happening. I'm not.
Okay.
I can't accept it. I struggle to say this is how it is today. I really struggle with that.
Yeah.
It's easier if I think of it from the comfort of my living room, but if I empathize just a little bit, I just
it's painful.
It's very painful, and I struggle with this concept really of accepting, of saying yes to this.
Okay. That's an interesting. Okay, if we look at it, I don't think, and I'm going to parse this out loud, that accepting the war is the same as accepting things as they are. I think that there's a slight difference. We accept things as they are right now, which is that there is a war. It doesn't necessarily mean, though, that we're accepting this war. That to me might be a little bit further down the road of acceptance than just simply accepting in this present moment there is war. And in this present moment, I am having a difficult time accepting it. And in this present moment, I can't tolerate the pain, or I'm having troubles tolerating the pain that I know is happening there right now. These are also how it is right now for you, right? It sounds like, you care very much. And as a result of this, it's very difficult for you to be with it as it is. So then we accept that. Again, I think it was last week, we were talking about the two arrows. I can't remember if it was with you. I think it was. This is a similar concept. And let me just explain, because I think Lara and I might have talked about this more one-on-one, but there's this concept, Buddhist concept, which we often call the two arrows. And there are a couple different parables, stories about two arrows, but this particular one is that the first form of dukkha is pain. And this we all experience, okay? It's the pain of life. And war, unfortunately, is one of those types of pain. So this is pain, war. It's the first arrow. It's like the shoot, the flecha, right? Now, the second arrow is when we want that first arrow to not have happened. We're stabbed by an arrow. Ugh! And then the second arrow is, I don't want to be stabbed by an arrow. This second arrow is optional. This is what really causes the emotional suffering of wanting things to be different than it is, wanting to not have been shot by an arrow. So if the first arrow, for instance, in Lada's case, is an inability to accept the war, or an inability to resist thinking about it and imagining it, or whatever the case may be, that's the first one. The second one is wanting that to be different. There's where you can stop. You could say, okay, right now this is too difficult for me. I can't not be upset about it. I just am. I can't accept it. I just can't, right? So, and this is kind of a promise. This is a high probability. But when you can accept that you can't accept the war, or when you can accept that you're suffering as a result of the war, or when you can accept that you can't empathize even for a moment without really feeling a lot of pain, when you can accept that, over time, these other things will actually start to change. The reason they hold on is because you're not accepting them. You're thinking they should be different. I may have to, I'll try to, it's like we can sort of get off the elevator, you might say, at whatever floor we want. And these things have different levels of acceptance or non-acceptance. Starting with the original pain, and then not accepting the pain, and then not accepting that you can't accept the pain, and not accepting that you can't accept that you can't accept the pain. You just keep piling on. And so the key is to try to work with that second arrow, not to get to the third or the fourth or the fifth. But if you do, then you start where you are. You're at the fifth arrow. And then you just try to accept things as you are. And then even maybe give yourself just a hug. Hold that, in the Thich Nhat Hanh view of Buddhism, it's our inner child. In the more Tibetan view, they call it just the mind, right? In the Freudian modern psychology, we call it the ego. Whatever it is, I'm not sure what it is. Muji calls it the person. Whatever that is, it's a very vulnerable, emotional part that we all have. And that part needs to be held, needs to be loved, needs to be reassured, needs to know it's safe, and needs to know that it can feel as it feels. If it feels sad, we don't want to go, you shouldn't feel sad. Bad, you're feeling sad. No, we don't want to do that. I can see that you're feeling sad. Yes, this is a horrible thing. We empathize, I like that word, with that little part of us. Maybe it's not even little, I don't know, but this more vulnerable part of us that feels and can't help but feel, can't help but be touched by the tragedy that's going on. So, does that make sense? You know, and also just to remind ourselves that these are practices, these are in a way you can almost say reparentings, right? We're like reparenting ourselves. We're reteaching ourselves how to be in the world. You know, and our poor parents, I mean, my poor mother, oh my God. You know, I'm going to go see her. I'll probably get there Tuesday because I don't want to drive the whole way in one day. But I know is going to be, she even said to my brother, because she went deaf from her fall a couple years ago, she went deaf. And she's complained about it for 2 years. And now she's told my brother, because now she's not going to be able to walk, it looks like she's going to have to be in a wheelchair, and she can't use one hand. They're just like numb. They don't work. And she said to my brother, she goes, "Can you imagine that this happened to me? I played tennis. I'm a very active woman. I do this and this, you know, blah, 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 blah." So I know that it doesn't look like she's going to die. For a while there, I thought that was what we were looking at. But more, she's going to be stuck in the second, third, fourth, and fifth arrow, probably. You know, and my gig is to go down there and not do the same, not be stuck in those arrows, but to just be as empathetic as I possibly can with her. Say, yeah, that has got to be tough, Mom. You know, you were a very active woman only a few months ago, and now it looks like you need to be in a wheelchair. I mean, that breaks my heart. I wouldn't want that. We'll see how it goes. You guys will get an update next Sunday if you join the call, if you come to Saladana. So we have about 15 minutes. Is there any interest in doing a little walking meditation? Or do you want to walk or no? Carlos would like to walk. Alicia would like to walk. Okay, Javier, Nacho. Okay, we'll just walk for like 5 minutes, kind of stretch out our leg, and then we'll talk a little bit more, okay? So I think everybody knows, you know, just putting the attention in the feet touching the floor. I will walk too. Thank you for your practice, and just to be transparent about how my funny mind can get it. It wonders, why not so many people have come to Saladana, and then it thinks, oh, maybe it's because we're doing walking meditation. Who knows? But the associations, that our mind will make. Well, let's see. It's been, since we started walking meditation. It must be that. I don't think so, but so in the last just couple minutes here, I'm going to introduce a very Buddhist thing, something that kind of gets you at another level of specificity, of detail around Buddhism, and it is called the five skandhas or khandhas, which are the five aggregates or heaps or mountains, montanes, of conditioned existence. And this was very kind of unique or inventive that the Buddha came up with this. And it is also where Buddhism and Hinduism kind of divert a little bit. So I'm just going to show you what they are real quick. Let's see, share screen. Where did they go? I think if I go here. Yeah, do you see this little list of 5 things? Okay, good. So in the Buddha's teachings, he said that all conditioned existence is made up with these 5 aggregates subject to clinging. Subject to craving. And just real quickly, so they're form, physical form, but also can take the place of a image in your mind that's form-based. Vedana, which sensation doesn't really, it's probably more like tone. Oops. And we've talked about this often. Is something pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Okay, so the Buddha, this is so amazing. Neuroscientists now can see that the mind, in a millionth of a second, immediately decides whether something is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, good, bad, or wants it or doesn't, for all things, all the time. But the Buddha, 2,600 years ago, and those contemplatives that lived at that time, they analyzed the mind so much they also were able to see that this is how the mind works. It immediately is assessing, do I want this or not? Perception, so just how we perceive what we're experiencing. Mental activity and formations, this is consistent with what we meditated on, these sankharas, which could take the form of beliefs, preferences, expectations, desires, the whole range of gobbledygook that goes on in our mind. And then consciousness or awareness, which this is really kind of where they diverge, in my view, from Hinduism. Hinduism sees this final one, consciousness, Brahman, as being one, and we're all part of this, and it's God. But in Buddhism, and in fact, one of my teachers, Hilgur Farnsdale, his teacher, he had said to his teacher, I think instead of being a Buddhist, I'm going to be a Hindu, because of their view of consciousness and how it's God. And the teacher said to him, just keep looking. You'll see the truth. And the truth is that consciousness also is conditional. It's also always changing. And part of the reason that the Buddha came up with these 5 is that these are the areas where we cling, where we crave, where dukkha arises. It arises around our form. It arises around our wanting or not wanting. It arises around our point of view. I mean, oh my God, we see this in the political discourse, right? Constantly, just dukkha everywhere, flying in all directions. It arises due to our beliefs, due to how we've been raised, due to how, our friends are, and so forth. And it arises based on our consciousness. This one's a little more subtle, but our consciousness also is like this malleable, changing thing that is changes by causes and conditions. And so it too can cause dukkha. It can cause suffering in the Buddhist perspective. So let's see. Got like 1 minute. Just give me 1 second. I wanted to read a quote, and I lost it for a second. Here, let me see if I can find it. Where'd it go? Okay. I couldn't find the one that tied exactly to this, but I found another one that I like equally as well. So sorry, I wanted to connect the aggregates to a quote, but instead I'm going to quote another. Just, you guys are looking to your right over there in the room. I hope something noise out. How brilliant the Buddha was for his time, where he understood addictions. He understood the habitual nature of human beings. So I'm going to read this because I'm not sure if I could grab it out of the book so quickly. Okay, he writes, he said, people who are not free from lust for sensual pleasures, right? So lust, wanting sensual pleasures, who are devoured by craving for sensual pleasures, who burn with the fever of sensual pleasures, still indulge in sensual pleasures. So this is an interesting thing, especially that last one. They burn with fever for sensual pleasures, but yet they continue to indulge in sensual pleasures. The more they indulge in sensual pleasures, the more their craving for sensual pleasures increases, and the more they are burned by the fever of sensual pleasures. Yet they find a certain measure of satisfaction and enjoyment in dependence on, here it is, on the 5 chords of sensual pleasure. I'm pretty sure the 5 chords is the same as the aggregates. This is so like exactly what addiction is, right? We get addicted to something, whether it's, drugs or alcohol or sex, but also work, iPhones, technology, email, news, gossip. I mean, just a ton of things that we human beings tend to get addicted to. And then even though we burn with fever, in other words, we suffer because of them, we keep on doing it. We keep on doing it. And I think this is such an enlightened point of view from someone 2,600 years ago, but it's so true even today. I mean, I will admit, I need to go to iPhone Anonymous because I can't seem to stop looking at my goddamn phone. They need to have a 12-step meeting for me. Anyways, okay, we're going to be a couple minutes over. I hope that's okay. But let's close out with a little metta, loving kindness. So, okay, why don't we start with the people of Ukraine, and then we'll go to I. So without causing yourself too much discomfort, but just having the people of the Ukraine and even those poor Russian soldiers, have them in your heart, and let's offer them metta. May they be happy. May they be well. May they be safe. May they live with ease. And now we'll do ourselves. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I live with ease. And then the difficult person. If you're really brave, you put Putin in there, but if that's too much, which I can see how that could be too much, just somebody maybe have a little irritation with, or a little hurt, a little resentment. But it's a good practice though, do the difficult person. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you live with ease. And now all beings in all directions without exception, may all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings live with ease. And finally, in the tradition of renunciation, of letting go, generosity, dana, we offer the fruit of our practice today, the teachings, our Buddha nature, our Sangha, to the benefit of all beings. May all beings be happy and peaceful, healthy and strong, safe and protected. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, free from war, violence, discrimination, racism, and the last bits, hopefully, of coronavirus. And may all beings find their path, find their truths, understand the laws of nature. May all beings be free. Thank you all for hanging in there. Just real quick, couple announcements. First about Dana. All of you, I think, have heard the spiel that we are trying to do Saladana in the spirit of generosity, this historical Buddhist tradition. And yeah, I think it's working out. I want to thank all of you who have given, especially you online folks, through BISM. Thank you very much for your donations. And for those of you who are in the room, you can, I guess, donate some time by helping clean up for all those no-shows. And if you want to leave a financial donation, there's a box there, and or you could do transfer or BISM as well. All is appreciated. We have a couple retreats coming up. Nacho is hosting a retreat online with Bhante Bodhidharma. Nacho, did it make it to the Saladana webpage yet?
Yeah, it's already there.
You put it there? Okay. So now we have a link, an enlace, whatever, on the saladana.org website, Retiros, and then there's the retreat coming up next week online, and then also the one that's coming up in May, where Bhante Sanata Vihari is going to be coming from Hollywood to teach us the Dharma during May. And yeah, more information will be coming, but there is some information now up on the website. And yeah, I think that's it. Carlos, do you have anything? And thank you,
No, I was
Carlos
just wondering,
and Alethea, for your service.
and Evie and Virginia for showing up.
Yes, thank you, Virginia, for showing up. And yeah, good to see you all. So I will hopefully see you guys next week, and have a good week.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you, Jim.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice week. Take care.